Elizabeth Eckel, and you're watching Eye on Public Works, your go-to show for what's happening in Peoria's Public Works Department. Today we're talking with Timothy Smothers, GIS Supervisor for the City of Peoria's Information Technology Department. Thanks for being here, Tim.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Most people have heard of the term GIS, but what exactly is GIS?
Well, GIS is an acronym for Geographic Information System. So what a geographic information system is something that allows a user to locate things, say, in a computer. It's a giant database that stores things, assets, whatever these things are, in a database that you can then retrieve the information and ask questions of it. If you ever use Google Maps or Google Earth, or
all the time.
There you go.
Yes.
That's a GIS. You're asking a question or you're looking up information. You'll find you might see a icon of a restaurant. Say, oh, there's a restaurant right here. That's a GIS. You're storing the restaurant locations on a street network, a street base, you know, where the roads are, where your neighborhood, so you can see what's around you. It can be very powerful. And the biggest part about a GIS system is that you can ask the questions of the data that's within it. When you use MapQuest, you're asking a question about, I want to go from here to here. And it will return the route that you need to go. It actually understands that you belong where you're at, and it understands where you want to go. So it will return that information for you and give you a route or a path that you need to get there.
Well, I know my life has changed tremendously with this technology, the GIS technology. What are the other questions that you can ask?
You can ask a variety of questions. The biggest thing is where am I? You want to know where you are. And then how close am I to something? What's my proximity to something? If I reach out, can I touch something? Whatever that means. Is it going to take me an hour or 3 hours to get somewhere? How many of things are within an area is important to us. If you're looking at trees or whatever you're looking at, if you want to know what's in your area, you can ask that question and we'll bring it back to you and tell you the types of things that are there. So it's not only the location of something, but what is it? How is it? Where is it? And how many of it are there? Does that make sense?
It does make
Okay,
sense, yes.
good.
Well, it's definitely an exciting technology. Why are these systems important to a city like the city of Peoria?
Well, many of the functions of a city is multiple businesses. We have different departments, one being Public Works that we're talking about today, but you have many other departments in the city that have some requirement or need to see things in a geographic relationship to itself. Many things that we deal with within the city are related to geography. Our facilities are one. The things that we maintain, the streets, our citizens, we relate to geography because they live somewhere within the city, right?
Yeah.
So understanding where we have to serve our citizens is important and what we're serving them with. So all the different things that we need to know, we can do through GIS or geographic information. So within the Information Technology Department, our charge is to look at all of the different businesses, see what their needs are with relationship to mapping or to GIS, and provide that service to them, whatever that can be. And it means something different to every department.
Right. And how does GIS help Public Works in their daily operations?
Well, with daily operations, Public Works is probably our largest customer when it comes to geographic information processes and their requirements and needs. When you think about what Public Works does, they're the streets department, so they manage everything that's to do with streets. There are utilities, water service and reuse departments. So it's very important to deliver water, understand your system, also very important with the sewer to know where it's going and make sure that all that's working right. And now we have kind of a new utility in a sense with the reuse, because we're actually mapping the reuse component of the utility system. But they use that for watering some of the parks in town and things like that. So we're capturing the kind of the wastewater, making it clean, and then using it where it's appropriate to use it. So, and we help them map that and understand where that is.
This is all great information. Can you give us an example of how this works?
I can. Well, one of the best things that we do to integrate the business with Public Works is within both the streets and the utilities department, we have Toughbooks. And we have an application. A Toughbook is a laptop computer that can go out into this harsh environment that we have and be used in the heat and the rain. It really doesn't matter. So they're ruggedized. They can be manhandled, so to speak. So we have an application that allows us to manage our assets with the Public Works personnel. So what we call the field operations personnel will take our Toughbook, take this application, they'll go out in the field, and they can actually identify the assets, say a sign or a street light or a fire hydrant, whatever they see, and if they have to do some maintenance on it, they can actually identify it, connect to our system that actually does the tracking of the maintenance, which is important to understand where we've been and what we've done to something, and input that information in there and send it right in. It's used to be a lot of paper. Now it's not paper, it's right on the computer and it goes right into the system. It doesn't have to change hands. And another way that the Public Works uses it is in their BlueStake. Have you ever heard the term call before you dig?
I'm not familiar with the term, well, but go ahead.
If you're digging in the street or digging in your yard even, and you're planting a tree, what happens if you hit your water line? Oops, okay. That's a big deal, right?
Yes.
So there's an effort out there, it's called BlueStake, that actually it's called before you dig. You call in a 1-800 number and you say, I'm doing some work here. And the folks that might have interest in that area, like have some kind of utility or something in the ground, underground there, will actually come out and mark the area of where there's a potential conflict, where you might want to dig, or at least, watch out, you're going to hit something right here. It could be cable, could be water, it could be a sewer, depends on how deep you dig or where you dig.
That all makes sense, yes.
Well, and we have an application that actually allows us to review all of the as-built, which are the plans that laid all the pipe, like our water and our sewer, our streets, all that stuff is stored electronically on a device that these gentlemen go out in the field, and how they mark it. They look at the plans, it's right there in front of them, say, oh, the pipe's right there, and they can mark it and make it, in theory, make it safe for the, for the homeowner or whoever's doing the digging not to hit it.
Right, so. To avoid future headaches.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is all fascinating information. I'm a very visual person, so I'm so happy that you are going to give us a visual demonstration.
Okay, well, what I can do, I'll show what I have here is it's a fairly old application that we brought up in like 2003 here at the city, but it's still valid and it works in the field. It's self-contained for our BlueStake employees that are out there that do the marking. What I'm showing here, when you look at it, you go, what is that? But we're actually looking at the city and the infrastructure that's part of it. In the main screen in the middle, we're looking at, that's actually City Hall. I just happen to know that. City Hall, and then the lower right, or I'm sorry, the lower left there is just like an overview map, and that red box is where we are at in the city. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out here, and I'm going to move in to an area of town, and you'll note that when I did that click and I zoomed into an area, it actually moved there on the main map over here. I'm going to just move up into the West Wing area of the city. And we can isolate an area of interest where somebody was going to, say, do some digging in the right-of-way for whatever reason. I don't know why you dig in the right-of-way, but you would. If somebody's putting in a gas main or something, trying to service a house, that would be a good way. We can zoom into the area of interest. We have a sewer line, and the gentlemen in the field, they know what these are. We have sewer line and water line. This actually represents a hydrant, a fire hydrant here. All I simply have to do is I say, oh, somewhere in here I'm going to be digging. What do I need to know about this area? So we ask a question, we draw a box, and the users will ask, basically they're asking this question about what's here right now by not typing anything in, but actually drawing the box on the geography. So that can be important. So say we care about where the sewers are. We click that and say, oh, this in theory is going to show a sewer that is in that area. And we're simply going out, it's like a document management system, if you've heard of those. It's storing all of these images that are standard plans, like a set of house plans. There's standard images that you can review and look at what happened in that area. And you can zoom in, so if you have a focus on a particular area, you can see what's going on. And these gentlemen know how to read these. These can look very confusing to somebody who hasn't used these before, but they know exactly how to read these. They know how to deal with offsets. They know what to look for on the ground to make sure that Tim and his staff didn't screw up something on the map. So when we look at these, we can actually verify that we're in the right area. And we have all of the different infrastructure for the city, all the different water, sewer, reuse. We have plats. We have all sorts of things that are stored in here. So it's a pretty powerful system, and it's updated every month as we get new as-built. We update this. It's as good as we have.
It seems very high tech.
Well, this is, believe it or not, this is very old technology. This is running on something that has been obsolete for about 10 years, but it just works. So why change it?
Yes, if it's working, it doesn't make sense to change it. And how do the Public Works field crews leverage this GIS?
Well, we have another application that we're really, really proud of within IT and within the GIS group that we put together. We worked very hard for about the past 6 years working with Public Works. First, it was the Streets Department, and now Utilities is working into this. What I'm going to demo now is one of the first applications that we built with our Streets Department. It's actually with the sign group. Believe it or not, managing signs can be a very difficult process. You would think, well, it's a sign, but no, when you think about what goes into it, it's a pretty involved process. Plus, when you think about the weather that we have here, understanding that you visited a stop sign that faces the sun most of the time, that will turn into not a good-looking stop sign. This tool gives them the opportunity to track their activity, to know where they've been, and also then report on all of the signage that's out there. This is called GeoResults Mobile, and what this does is actually allows the user to go to a location. We can ask a question by we can actually put in an address here.
And this is a system that all of the men and women in the field use daily. Every application that's set up here is set up for a particular business. This happens to be an application that is set up for our signage group. Specifically for the signage.
Specific to them.
Okay.
That group is a group of 4, and they go out and they manage the signs. We have also applications set up for our stormwater. That's a very important one. Stormwater has the same sort of thing, different set of data that goes with it. You note that I have data that's on the left-hand side here that talks about the different kinds of features that is over here.
Yes, I see.
So they can actually, the numbers, you look at the label on these things and you go, well, I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean anything to most of us, but it does certainly mean something to the gentlemen in the field who are working on this. They know exactly what they're looking for. Every sign is identified. Every sign is an asset that we actually put into our environment, into our asset management system. And every sign then becomes part of a preventative maintenance program where I want to say every year, but then I'm not the expert on how they actually do the preventative maintenance. They go and they visit these signs, they check them, they make sure that the reflectivity, that they look right, that they're doing what a sign is supposed to for that type of sign, facing that direction and doing those things.
It sounds like this is a great application to stay organized, to keep the city organized.
Well, in the biggest thing that we were finding in everything that we do within GIS is it's all about the data.
Okay.
If the data's not good, so goes the GIS, right? So the main thing that we're looking at is we need timely data, we need accurate data, and we think we found that the data are accurate in our environment, but we weren't meeting the time. So this application is empowering the field crews to look at their environment, what they actually work on every day, tell us where we screwed up, show us how to fix it, or or fix it if they can. If it's something that's simple, they can fix it, and then return that data back to us. Currently, with the sign data, when we implemented this about 4 years ago, signs were getting put in the system about every 4 months. We would do an update. Now we're no further than 24 hours behind, because we're
great.
empowering the gentlemen that work in the sign department, the sign group, to put the data in and provide it to us.
That's fantastic. So that means if something's missing out in the field, if there's some data missing, and somebody in the field notices, can they do anything about it?
They can actually they can. So, and I can show that on the screen here that they.
Great.
I can come here and I'm going to select 2 signs. I just selected 2 signs here on this corner of Windrose and 73rd, and I can look at the asset or the signs. And what we've done is we've worked with staff to say, okay, what do you need to know? What needs to be part of that sign so they can actually work with it? And so we've made this form and these lists that allow them to actually update the information. If they touch a sign, they'll actually put in their name in here, and it would say, okay, I've done something. I'm telling you I've done something here. And then they would walk down through this and put in the appropriate data. I'm going to go ahead and screw something up here if I start putting in data, so I probably shouldn't be doing that. But also, what's important is when you start, if you go down through the system, you'll see that they can actually add a sign, which was important. They know where they are. They're there right now. We didn't have a real mechanism for them to add a new sign, add a new asset to the system. We've made one happen for them. So they can add a sign on the fly. That sign comes to us that evening. We put it into the system. All of the city that cares can look at it within the city. So engineers care. Public Works certainly cares because they manage it. And, of course, we care because we're flipping the signs for them.
And I suspect the residents care a great deal, too.
Well, the residents will care as well.
Yes.
Depending on how the signs or how the activity happens, everything gets gone through a QA/QC process as well, which is fairly aggressive. So a sign doesn't get let before it's really been vetted that it's okay, that all the data behind it and the placement of it is good, and actually the sign group is happy that it's where it's at.
So it's checked, double-checked, triple-checked.
It feels like that to me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's very, so the quality of this data, I say, is probably one of the best that we have in the city.
Well, that's great to know. And are there any other applications within Public Works that has a basis in GIS?
We do have. We just launched a new application called Civic Reporter. It's Peoria, Arizona Civic Reporter. It's actually made by CitySourced, which is a company that we contracted with. This is actually more than a Public Works application. It's a smartphone application that allows a citizen to report on a problem that they see. And there's a variety of problems that they could find out there, or issues that could be, it could be a street light that's out. We may not necessarily understand a street light is out, but they could take a picture of it. It actually leverages the GPS in the phone to say I'm here.
I actually have it pulled up here, just like that.
And that's a face of the smartphone app. You can the users, if you have an iPhone, a smartphone, a Windows phone, and even BlackBerry, I believe if they go to their marketplaces, they can download that app for nothing.
And it's very user friendly too. As you can see, it takes you step by step right through it. You can take a photo and send it right in.
And one of the most interesting portions of this, since it is kind of a multitask in a sense of what it's doing, it can do multiple problems. This application, if it's a Public Works issue, it will actually take the issue and put it into our work order management system or service request system. It's kind of the same thing. That it'll actually generate a service request that will then tag somebody in Public Works to say, I need to go and look at this. First figure out what is the problem, or if there is a problem, and resolve it. So if it's one of our assets that has a problem, say a street light, they can go out, check it. Is the light out, what's the problem with the light, resolve the problem, and then report back to the citizen who put in the complaint or the notification that
It's been taken
resolved.
care of.
It's been resolved, yeah.
Well, so you have the smartphone application, and you also have the website.
We have the website. If for me, I'm probably the only person in our information technology that still has a flip phone. I would need to come out to the CitySource site, and I can input something here. But if you want to see what's been going on in the city, you can do that as well. You can see that we have here, there's several different activities that are going on here. If you can see that. There's a little bit of graffiti on here. This is both a public works as well as like a code enforcement or PD problem, because they want to check these things out to see what kind of graffiti's on there. But so you can actually input something here for the city of Peoria. You'll have to put in an address. It's a little more clunky, I guess, because it's not being used by a smartphone that actually knows where it is. Your laptop doesn't know where it is. You have to tell it where it is so you can put the call in.
Right. Tim, not all residents use or have a smartphone. How can someone report a city, street, or environmental issue the old-fashioned way?
Well, if they don't have a smartphone, if they have a cell phone or a landline, they can phone us and put in an issue that way. Or if they have a PC or at home and connectivity to the internet, they can go to citysource.com and actually put in a complaint there or some kind of issue there. We're showing the website right now, and you can see that you can go to the city of Peoria. We're a node on CitySource, and you can actually see the activity there that is current within our system.
Fantastic. Tim, thank you for telling us about Peoria's GIS system, and thanks for keeping the city running like a well-oiled machine. For more information and a full list of items you can report, go to peoriaaz.gov. And up next, you'll meet Peoria Public Works employee Willie Townsend, this month's Employee Profile. To Eye on Public Works. I am so honored to introduce Peoria Public Works employee Willie Townsend. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
Just tell everybody out there what you do for the city of Peoria.
I work in the solid waste department and I drive a refuse collector truck.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
5 years. That's a long time to be driving a refuse truck. And I know how hard you work, especially on these hot summer days. What do you enjoy most about your job?
Well, that cold air conditioning, for one, inside my truck. And two, I've always wanted to serve the public on a consistent basis. And I figured, what better way to do that than to drive a refuse collector truck? And three, what I really enjoy most is when my customers come out when I'm servicing the neighborhood and say, "Thank you, Willie. We really appreciate what you do." That I enjoy the most.
I'm so happy to hear you're appreciated. And after all of these years, what's changed about collecting?
Well, we've went from a 3-man crew to tossing cans manually, to several trucks on a route, to a 1-man operation, automated. 1-man truck, 1 truck per route.
How did you make that transition? I mean, you had to go through special training, right?
Yes. 80 hours a week to learn how to drive that automated truck. You sit on the passenger side for a week, and your trainer instructs you how to drive and operate the truck for 40 hours. And the following week, for 40 hours, you drive and operate the truck. And you got to make the grade in that time period.
Well, I'm so happy that you are doing this for the city, and I've seen those trucks. I know how hard it must be to line up right next to the curb with the can and get it tossed into your truck.
Yeah, it's a degree of what we call depth perception, and that takes a little time because when you first start out, you're knocking cans over and trash everywhere. And then after a little while, you'll get your zero spots pinpointed.
Willie, what's the biggest misconception people have about trash collecting?
It's what we take now. Back in the day, we took motor oil, cooking oil, paint, and other toxic materials, and even car parts and truck parts. Now, we don't take motor oil, cooking oil, paint, car parts, or truck parts, or any other toxic materials. The motor oil you can dispose of at your local automotive parts store. The cooking oil you can take to your local home improvement store along with the paint. The car parts you can take to the salvage yard.
Perfect. Thank you for letting us know that.
You're very welcome.
And after all of these years, how many tons of trash do you think you've collected?
Well, I average about 20 tons a day times 4 times 12. It's about over 130,000 tons of trash in my career.
Ooh, that's a lot of trash.
That's a lot of trash.
And you've been working in trash for a long time. I suspect that you've seen almost everything.
Right.
What's one of your funniest memories or stories you can think of?
Well, this was the day after the 4th of July, and one of my customers forgot to put their trash all the way to curbside. So I got out of my truck, and I moved it to curbside, and I serviced it. The next day, I was called into the office and handed a 2-page letter. This was a letter of appraisal and outstanding service. And then I come to find out that it was from a prominent political figure.
Well, I have to say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And we've started doing these employee profiles so residents can get to know who's working in their neighborhoods. But I bet they don't realize that they have a celebrity working in the neighborhood. Willie, tell us about your experience on the Tim and Willie show in the morning.
Well, I do a little radio skit with Tim and Willie in the morning. Woo! On Camel Country 108. What I do is a recycle tip, 6:30 a.m. every Wednesday for the city of Peoria. And we have quite a bit of fun doing that, and I've been doing that for 4 years and 7 months now.
Well, congratulations on that as well. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, it is.
And I imagine you do get some free time?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Good. What do you like to do in your spare
Well,
time?
like millions of other people, Elizabeth, I love fishing, boating, camping, swimming, going to the movies, and barbecuing. And also, I restore old cars. I'm working on a 1967 Volkswagen Beetle at present.
Oh, that sounds great. How fun. Well, I've heard city employees often describe working for the city as being part of a family. In your opinion, what do you think makes working for the city such a great place to work?
Well, we work in a very diverse workforce, and using a high level of communication to get the job done is what it takes here in the city of Peoria, and we have that. And we also, after work, we stay in communication with each other, and we go to several activities during the years, in and out.
That's nice. I always love to hear that it's a family workplace.
Yeah, it makes you feel good.
Good. Willie, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And I know that Peoria residents now have enjoyed meeting you as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. And thank you, City of Peoria. I am Public Works.
Until next time, thank you so much for watching Eye on Public Works.